Hello, and welcome to The Legend of Zelda, the NES original first Zelda game, a game that started the entire franchise, released on the NES or Famicom in Japan in February of '86, on the NES American equivalent of it in August of '87, and was quite the revolutionary game, both factually and in my personal opinion. First, as this first of all, by the way, this at least for now is not going to be an all-out playthrough, just a brief review. Secondly, let's start with the historic side of things. This game coming out in the late '80s, at a time when gaming in general was making that awkward transition from arcade-style games, where you pop in a quarter, stand in front of the arcade cabinet, and play a game for a few minutes. It was usually platformer, get through the level as fast as possible, beat the timer, maybe get the high score, to adventure games. Yeah, this game was very instrumental in showing that video games could be more than just high scores. Not that there's anything wrong with that kind of gameplay, but I don't think I even want to know where gaming today would be if not for this game. As developers and designers would draw influence and inspiration from this game for years, if not decades to follow. Definitely a landmark of the early history of video gaming. No doubts there. And as for me personally, being a gamer in the late '80s, eh, was, like I said, it was that awkward time. Arcades going into home game, home home console gaming, and even a lot of the early NES titles were either direct arcade ports or were made in that style. Games you could beat in under an hour, blah blah blah. And that's fine. No, don't get me wrong. There's some good games in that genre, in that type of game. But when that's all there is, it gets kind of boring after a while. And me personally, in 1988, I was just about to give up on gaming, or at least walk away from it for a while, when someone suggested I try this game. It had just come out in America just a few months earlier, so it was still relatively brand new yet then. I rent a copy of it from a local video store. Yeah, we still had video stores in those days, no Redbox or Netflix yet. But anyways, that's another topic for another time. Played it, and I loved it. And to be perfectly honest, I highly doubt I'd still be a gamer today if not for this game back then. I mean, I don't imagine too many people caring one way or the other, just me, but just me and my opinions and my backstory, but still. Now, gushing and all positive reviews aside, like I was saying in someone's YouTube video comments earlier today, well, today, as of recording this, Wednesday, April 6th, 2022, as I was saying, I don't believe in the perfect 10 for 10 video game. There's a lot of great games, don't get me wrong. Final Fantasy VII, Super Metroid, Ocarina of Time. There's been a lot of great games over the years and decades of gaming. But to say it that it's a perfect 10 for 10, no. Highest I would go is a 9.5 out of 10. Every game, no matter how well designed it is, no matter how much you love playing it, every game has its annoyances. Its cheap moments, unfair moments, cryptic moments, whatever it might be that annoys you personally. I mean, let's be honest now. Doesn't mean the game is bad overall. Just has certain aspects that could have been done better. And for a lot of people with this game, that is this right here, cryptic bomb secrets. Unlike all of the later Zelda games that have followed to this day, including Breath of the Wild, bombable spots are marked by cracked walls, visually. Which, I don't mind that. I've kind of gotten used to it since it's been a thing in Zelda for 3 decades now, since A Link to the Past came out in early '92. Actually, yeah, a week ago, or a week, next Wednesday, 1 week from now, will be exactly the 30th anniversary, I think. I think it was released on April 13th of '92. Damn, it's already been 30 years. Holy crap. Anyways, that too is another subject for another time, especially now that I realize that I have to do a special video on that. A link to the past 30th anniversary video. But anyways, yeah. As I was saying, I don't mind having the bomb wall secrets marked with cracked walls. I've gotten used to it in 30 years since then, but I don't know. For me personally, I think there was just something to be said for finding things like, well, if I don't die here, for finding things like this on your own and not being told where it was. Today's games just coddle you a little too much, in my opinion. And then I die while, yeah. Oh well, this isn't really a playthrough video anyway. Like I said, this is just me talking about one of my favorite games and one of the more important games in gaming history, at least the early portion of gaming history. Yeah, I mean, I can see how people who aren't familiar with this game, who grew up playing the newer games where all the bomb wall secrets were marked and all that stuff, seeing it from your point of view, yeah, it is kind of cryptic. How would you know to bomb there? I get what you're saying there, but understanding what you're saying and agreeing with you aren't entirely the same thing. And I say that with all due respect. We all have the right to our own opinions. Doesn't mean you're right or I'm wrong or I'm right or wrong. It's all just opinion. And my opinion spring from someone who grew up with this game. Well, I can't really say grew up. I was already 16 by 1988 when I got my first copy of this. But anyways, somebody who's played it for pretty much, well, again, I didn't start playing it until early 88. It was already out for like a half a year by that time, actually, August of 87. Yeah. And now I'm just making a chump out of myself here. Anyways, by the way, one thing I like about this game, in contrast to every other Zelda game that's ever come along since, is you can actually have not just a starter sword, but an upgrade to it before you even enter any of the dungeons. I mean, it's not necessary. It makes the game, the first part of the game a lot easier, and for that reason, most people wouldn't bother with it, yes, but still. I just love that they give you that option. All of the other Zelda games that followed, there are sword upgrades for most of them, but you usually have to go through at least a couple dungeons to have access to it. Which, again, from a gameplay standards in terms of difficulty, is probably just as well. But, yeah. Again, I just like that they give you the option in this game. As open world as an 80s game can be. That having been said, these things here, P-hats as they're called, in these games are ridiculously annoying. You can't hit them unless they stop spinning and land. They can hit you while they're flying, but you can't hit them. Yeah, talk about annoying. The music for this game, for NES music, hey, pretty good. I mean, I've heard better music in NES games, like the NES first Final Fantasy game. Although the game itself is, rather dated in my opinion, in contrast to some of the more recent remakes, I still have a nostalgic side for the music of the original NES first Final Fantasy. That's been altered for all of the more recent remakes. Anyways, point being, it's a little cryptic if you're not used to the old school Zelda NES difficult, as some people would call it. Not so much this game. The NES difficulty, Nintendo hard, comes in the next game, but this one has its moments mainly because of the so-called cryptic nature, which again, I don't mind. I love the open world, how you can go through the levels in pretty much any order, blah, blah, blah. Now I'm just repeating myself. It's a secret to everybody. Yeah, that phrase, in some people's minds, that phrase can sum up this entire game. Secret bomb walls, secret, once you get the candle, burn certain trees to reveal secret passageways. But again, you can call it cryptic, and to your point of view, it probably is. But I like that. Again, there was just something to be said for finding that stuff out on your own and not being told where to look. I mean, that said, yeah, some games can get carried away with that. Okay, let me do something about this heartbeat, or I'm gonna lose my sanity, much less anybody watching this. Okay, come on. That's another thing, by the way. Well, that's one way to end the heartbeat, not the desired way to do so, but it works. Starting with this game and so many Zelda games to follow, who thought it was a good idea to have that annoying low heartbeat go constantly, non-stop until you get more health? I mean, it's nice that the game warns you, hey, you're about to die. You might want to do something about that. Nice that the game warns you about that, but why does it have to go beep, 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 beep the whole frickin' time? Gets annoying after a while. But again, that's not just this game. So many of the Zelda games have that. Alright. Speaking of candles, secret secret hideouts or around the corner. Can't do anything here yet. Again, this game is open world for the most part. Go anywhere at any time. But there are certain limitations, like that there. Can't do anything with that until you get the raft. Again, this game is as open world as an 80s game can be. At least that's how I like to look at it. Well, there was limitations of the hardware, the NES not exactly being the most advanced for its time. It was the biggest seller of its time because of its library of games, but technologically, no. By the end of the 80s, Sega had already released its Genesis console, and I believe TurboGrafx 16 was already out by the end of the 80s. But the NES continued to outsell them all because of its games, not because of the technology. But anyways, again, that's another video for another time. Ow. Alright. Alright. By the way, there's a little trick here. See the locked door up there on the northern end of the screen? Leave. and for whatever reason it's unlocked now. I don't know why it does that. This is, at least as far as I know, this is the only screen that, yeah, the only time that you can do that. Then again, there may be others. I didn't even know about that myself until, oh, 4 or 5 years ago when watching somebody's playthrough of the game. They mentioned it and I'm like, really? I never knew that. Here I've been playing the game since early 1988 and I never even knew that. For nearly 30 years. Bombable secret. Actually, why do I stand back? In this game, you don't have to. Very unrealistic, but that's video game logic for you. It's often unrealistic. But unlike later Zelda games, there is no bomb damage for standing too close to the bomb when it explodes. In pretty much every other Zelda game since this, that is a factor, yes, but here, no. Either they didn't think about it or they couldn't program it in. I don't know what. By the way, Garayas, their boomerangs, 1 heart of damage, so watch out for that. Blade traps. Trigger them, back up, wait, go. Easy enough to avoid. There's the bow. But unlike every other Zelda game to follow, arrows come separately. You actually gotta buy the arrows in the shop for 80 bucks. And even then, again, whether it's limitations of the NES hardware or whatever the reason, even when you buy the arrows for 80 bucks, 80 rupees, it costs 1 rupee for each arrow you fire since there is no separate arrow counter number. So if you don't have any rupees, you can't use your bow. Alright. Could open that door to the left or to the right there, but go this way too. No. Normally I wouldn't bother with that door there. But since I, did that entrance door trick, going in, leaving, going back into the dungeon again to remove that first door, just to level things out, I'm gonna do that. Wall Masters. I'm sure every Zelda fan has encountered these, regardless of what game you've played. They take you back to the entrance of the dungeon, which for this dungeon wouldn't be too bad since it's only a few rooms, but yeah. Dungeon boss. Now, technically, yeah, I could just stand here and pummel him with sword beams, and he can't hit me since he does relieve that little area there. But, yeah, what fun is that? Come on. Come on, Aquamentus. Yeah, you suck. Of course, I already cheesed this boss battle by having the level 2 sword already, but... And wow. And here was me thinking this was just going to be a quick review of one of my favorite games. Ends up being a playthrough anyways. Yeah. Well, that is, I do love this game. It has its issues, so to speak, but most of them I don't mind. Maybe it's having played the game multiple times since 1988. I grew up I grew used to it, or I got used to it is probably the better way of putting that. But again, like I said earlier, I can see how newer fans, more used to the modern quote-unquote Zelda games, would have problems with this one, as it's definitely different, at least in terms of cryptic secrets, and lack of story. Like most NES games, the story was either in the instruction manual or at the start of the game if you let the title screen play through before hitting the start button. And even then, there wasn't much story to 80s games. You know, your bad guy's taking over, you're the chosen hero, go stop him. That was pretty much your story. Now play the game. And even early RPG games like the first Dragon Warrior game fell in that category too. They really didn't start having more advanced stories in games until the early 90s. At least in the games I've ever played anyways. I mean, it's not like I've ever played every game ever made. I don't think anybody has. But... And yes, by the way, I've heard it well, maybe not a million times, but yeah. Snakes that are actually called ropes. Yes, I know, I've heard the puns, I've heard the gags. If you can't tell the difference between a rope and a snake, you got issues, blah, blah, blah. And on one hand, you're right, it is kind of weird to call a snake a rope, but on the other, I kind of like it. You know, they actually were a little bit more inventive with the enemy names instead of just snakes, bats, mummies. Keys, not bats. Gibdos, not mummies. They actually tried to be a little bit more creative with the enemy names. I like that. It's a little weird at times, perhaps. It's not a snake, it's a rope. Yeah. Oh well. No, these things, yeah, they charge at you if you stand. Kind of hard to explain, but see how the floor tile, rows of tiles. You stand right in front of them on that same row, either left to right or north to south. If you stand on the same row, well, again, it's kind of hard to explain since I'm not the best with descriptions. Have to show you, see, they charge at me because I'm right in front of them. So the best way to defeat those in the strategy guide purpose is kind of stand on the lines. Or having the stopwatch, that helps too, but of course this room can be a little annoying since you got the blue Garayas that take more hits to kill, especially if you don't have the sword upgrade yet. Magic boomerang. Upgrade to the boomerang we found in level 1, which I forgot to even comment on. This one goes all the way across the screen, which can be useful, but can also... Common complaint about that is that you gotta wait for it to come back. I mean, here you don't really have to, you can still use your sword as it's in flight, so... But, yeah, that's another thing that I've heard a lot of comments about in both good and bad over the years. Magic boomerang, is it worth it? Some people would say no. Luckily for those who don't like the magic boomerang upgrades, the only time I can think of where it's actually been necessary or required is Oracle of Seasons. or you need the upgraded boomerang because of its ability to change directions in flight once you throw it, an ability you need to complete some of the puzzles in level 8 and the rest of the game, I think. For sure in level 6. If I said 8, I meant 6. All of the other games that have, like this one, that have a magic boomerang upgrade, it's optional. Land molas. They definitely would look different over the years. Here they look like bleh. They just look like a series of orange dots. They don't even have a face or a head. Another key. Wow. I already have 6 of them. Yeah, see, as I was saying in one of the earlier rooms, best way is to take out these ropes, snakes, stand. That way they don't charge after you. Okay. Oh, it's Dodongo. Dang, he sure looks different than he will in Ocarina of Time. Of course, yeah, I would hope so. That was... Of course, the reason I say that is because I was just recording my playthrough of Ocarina of Time, Dodongo's Cavern, not that long ago, so the memory of that is still... Anyways... Moblins. They sure look different. Of course, again, everything looks different in this game, being only 8-bit pixel sprites. NES technology. You can only carry 8 bombs, so picking up that right now wouldn't matter. Hey, watch where you're shooting those arrows, Buster. That, by the way, is also kind of different now that I think about it. In most of the modern quote-unquote games, Garayas used spears. Oh well, that's the least of the differences between this game to the Zelda games that would follow. Most notably, in this game, Zelda 2, A Link to the Past, and in some cases even the well, yeah, them too, but Link's Awakening, Zoras were enemies. Wasn't until Ocarina of Time where they became the friendly allies that they have been pretty much ever since. It's a secret to everybody. Alright, speaking of it's a secret to everybody, there is one of those things right here, but it's for 100 rupees, and since I max out at 255, I'm not going to get that. 60 of those rupees would go wasted. I'll come back for that once I've spent some of that money. Actually, now that I think about it, good way to take care of that problem, since I'm eventually going to need arrows anyways. There are several shops where you can buy arrows at. One of them is right here, not that far away. Now I'll go pick that. Now that I have the wallet space for it. Almost maximum. Of course, there are no wallet upgrades in this game. That's something that didn't start until Ocarina of Time. And like I said in my Ocarina of Time playthrough when I got the first bomb bag up wallet upgrade, it's kind of silly when you think about it. I mean, this game kind of irrelevant in that scenario either way, since you don't have a wallet upgrade and you max out at 255. Zelda 2 didn't have rupees, so it didn't need a wallet at all either way. The third Zelda game, A Link to the Past, and the fourth one in releasal order. Talking about releasal order, not timeline order, but anyways. A Link's Awakening, in both of those two games, there were no rupee wallet upgrades, but you maxed out at 999 rupees anyway, so you didn't really need one. Then comes game number 5 in releasal order, Ocarina of Time, where you have not one but 2 wallet upgrades. You start the game maxed out at 99, or you don't max out, you gotta get the rupees to max out, but you max out if you do at 99 rupees. The first wallet upgrade takes you to 200. The second and final wallet upgrade takes you to 500. So what's the point in the wallet upgrades if you still max out at half of the rupees you used to be able to carry in the 2 games previous to it, where your maximum rupee count went to 999? Kind of defeats the purpose of a wallet upgrade. Of course, I already talked about that to some extent, so if you've seen that video, this is being kind of repetitive now. Anyways, I got 250 rupees. Up here, a few screens. The blue ring. In all of the later games that had this item, it'd be the blue tunic, but for now it's a ring. Half damage, double defense. Basically put, anything that hits you that hurts you will now do half damage. You know, like those boomerang throwing Garayas in level 1. When I was in level 1 without this, they would have done that. Those boomerangs would have done 1 whole heart container of damage. Now it's reduced to half a heart. Of course, it's kind of weird. It's a blue tunic, blue ring, but it looks more white than blue. I mean, Link's clothing now is what I meant by that. Looks like he's wearing white clothes, not blue. At the very least, a very, very light blue, nearly white. But anyways, I mean, it's not like they didn't have blue color sprites in the NES. I mean, look at the water, that's blue. Maybe that's why they didn't make Link blue. It'd be too camouflaged with the water, I don't know. Oh well, just one of those things that you pick up on after playing the game enough times. Fairy fountain. You don't have to play an ocarina like an ocarina. Of course, those were great fairies, not quite the same thing. But again, I know I already mentioned this just 10 so minutes ago, but I can still get a chuckle out of how I started this video thinking I was just going to do a brief review. And here I am doing a full playthrough anyways. Oh well, again, chalk it up to how much I love this game. It's not my favorite Zelda game by far. Well, it's one of them. It'd be in the top 5. Number 1 would be Ocarina of Time. Number 2, Breath of the Wild. Number 3, Minish Cap. Number 4, A Link to the Past. Number 5, Oracle of Ages. Number 6, Majora's Mask. This one would probably be number 7. So it's in the top 10. Of course, if I rated the games by how many times I've played them over the years, then this one would be the clear-cut number 1, not just for Zelda games, but video games in general, like I said earlier in this review turned playthrough. The Dark Nuts, an enemy that was the source of many juvenile jokes in the late 80s. Dark Nuts? Yeah, you get the idea. Anyways, you cannot hit them head on. You have to hit them either from the sides or behind. Because of their shield, they just deflect any head-on attack. Kind of like the Skulltula enemies in the Decretry Dungeon of Ocarina of Time, where I made the same reference to these enemies here. Oh, poo. Take that. Of course, if you don't have the upgraded sword yet, you'd have to hit each one of these Dark Nuts 4 times. Oh, I hate it when the game does that. I mean, that stopwatch can be very useful. Stops the enemies in their tracks, rendering you invincible for the duration of the time you're on that screen. So therefore can be very useful. But I hate it when it gives you that item after all the enemies are defeated, like right now. Invincibility, big deal. There's no enemies left to hurt me anyways. What's the point? Just to watch Link glow, I guess. Anyway. The raft. An item you didn't see much of in Zelda games after this one. Well, actually it was in Zelda 2 as well. Fine. After Zelda 2, you didn't really see the raft in Zelda games again. Well, except for, in gameplay. I mean, in like Link's Awakening, you see Link, or was it the Oracle games, I forget, or both. In the backstories and in the cutscenes, you see Link riding on a raft, but within the gameplay itself, no. The raft kind of made way for the flippers, or however you want to put that. Raft got replaced by flippers. No. If you need bombs, you could defeat these Dark Nuts here. If for some reason a set of bombs appears, like a prize or something, I don't know. Plus they drop bombs like you just saw there. So if you actually need some bombs rather than going out and buying some, this path. I mean, if you're one of the gamers that has a compulsion to map out every room in every dungeon, then I guess you'd want to go all in each one of these directions. But otherwise, the path to the left just goes back to where I just was, where I got the raft and that key. The path up leads 2 rooms to the north and 1 to the left, or to the west if you're thinking compass directions, where you get another key. Big deal, you need to use a key to get up there, so you're basically just using a key to get a key. So again, unless you're one of the gamers that has to map out every room in every dungeon, why even bother going that way? And to the right, that leads to the boss, but as we've already seen in the first 2 dungeons, there are bomb shortcuts around that. So And yes, I know, I've heard it a million times over the decades. I know image-wise what the layout of this dungeon looks like. I've heard it before, blah blah blah. Technically it's not though. Do a little research on symbology. It's not a dreaded swastika. Manji, reversed, inverted. I'm not going into the details, but yeah. I'm just saying it gets kind of tiring always hearing people ramble on about that in every video I've ever seen about this game. And now I'm doing the same thing. Yeah, shut up, me. Anyways, manhandle him. If you get lucky, you place a bomb and he flies right into it like that. You can defeat him in just one simple bomb blast. But I very rarely have ever. Usually takes at least a couple. All right. A little more exploration. Now here. This tree here is burnable. There is, it's a secret to everybody. Rupee hideout Garaya Haru. One of those guys that gives you free rupees is under here. But that's for 100 rupees, and you can get that now if you want, but I usually save it for later. There's a couple screens above. 1, 2 is an entrance to one of the later dungeons, where you'll have the option of buying an item upgrade for 100 rupees. So to avoid having to grind for the rupees, I save this until I'm ready to go to that dungeon. That way, 100 free rupees, there's the purchase price. But if you don't care for that, yeah, you get that right now, as long as you have a candle. The Lost Woods. Yeah, even in the first Zelda game, you have the Lost Woods or the Woods of Mystery. You know, it's gone by different names in different games throughout the Zelda series, but it's usually the same. You either repeat the same screen over and over again until you go through the right way, like in this game, or you get sent back to the start in like Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask. And go the wrong way and you get sent back to the beginning. But anyways, someone in the world map, I think, well, I don't even remember where. I think it's the one down at the bottom left corner of the world map. Pay her the right amount of money and she gives you the hint that you need to get through the Lost Woods. Yeah, this person. I don't remember how much it is, but well. Okay. Cheese the game with save files. Save states. Yeah, there it is. That's the one. Okay, badly translated to some degree, but yeah, northwest, southwest. Should read more to the effect of go northwest, southwest through the forest of maze, aka the Lost Woods, but yeah, that's how you'd find your way through the Lost Woods. Back in the day when there was no internet guides, and so north or up, west or left, south, down, west, left. Of course, I'm going here rather early. You don't have to be in this area for a couple dungeons yet. But again, open world game, at least as open world as an 80s NES game could be. Oh goody, the Lionels. And I don't have the upgraded shield yet. Oh well, at least I got the blue tunics, or their swords are only doing 1 heart of damage, not 2. Yeah, come here early in the game with just the green tunic you start off with, and their sword beams do 2 hearts of damage. But then again, yeah, Lionels, starting with this first offering, first game of the series, Lionels have always been one of the tougher enemies in the overworld. Well, the few games that they've actually been in, Lionels have actually only been in a few of the games, but when they are, again, yeah, they've always been one of the strongest overworld enemies. Even in one of the latest titles, Breath of the Wild, holy crap, some of the, like the golden line, well, the golden ones are exclusive to Master Mode, but the silver Lionels, they're, I mean, I've heard people say it, I've been very inclined to agree. Sometimes those silver Lionels can be more annoying than Ganon, the final boss of the entire game in Breath of the Wild, so yeah. Anyways, again, this game and its cryptic secrets, I know. And again, like I said, from the viewpoint, mindset of a newer Zelda fan who's only played the more recent games, going back and playing this game, you know, yeah, from your viewpoint, this would be cryptic. You're not wrong, it's just your opinion, and I can see where you're going with that. I just don't personally agree. I mean, yeah, it's cryptic, but I kind of like that. Again, something to be said for finding this stuff out on your own and not having a guide or having an in-game map tell you exactly where to look. Just felt more rewarding, I guess is the best way to put that. Power bracelet. Granted, in this, right now, it's a menial trinket, not even really required. In the second quest, it will be. And yeah, that's right, this game actually has a second quest. I can't think of any other NES game that did. I mean, certain games like NES Kid Icarus, or Zelda 2, or the NES original Metroid, after you completed the game, you can hit start again and replay the game, keeping most of your items from the previous playthrough. And while that was fun, to a degree, but no, in this game you actually have a second quest. Not like Master Quest and Ocarina of Time, where it's just the dungeons that are different. Everything will be different. But anyway, point being, in the second quest, the power bracelet, the item I just picked up here on this screen, will actually be required. Here, no. Just a nice little extra item to remove a few rocks for shortcut purposes. Now, as long as I'm in this area, I might do a playthrough of the second quest someday. I mean, hell, I wasn't even planning on doing a playthrough of the first quest right now again for like the third time now. This was just going to be a quick review of the game. But anyways, yeah. But for now, for anyone who's... Oh, NES slowdown. Okay, where are they getting all those swords? Seriously. Okay, never mind. I'm gonna die here. In fact, I am gonna. Seriously. I'm dead. Well, on that screen there is a, in the second quest anyway, there's an item to be found there. An item that I don't even have yet. No, I don't. Jeez. Okay. I usually get that early. But again, this was only going to be a review, and at the time I was in that area, I wasn't thinking playthrough purposes, so I didn't bother getting it. Whereas normally I would have. But anyways, yeah. Levers. Another one of the annoying enemies of Zelda. They appear out of nowhere from the ground beneath your feet. Even in Ocarina of Time, once you get to the Gerudo Desert, Desert Colossus around the Spirit Temple. Of course, up here, show this. Damn, I'm stinking it up today. Show her the letter I just found. And now we can buy potions. Several locations that are now potion shops. Blue ones for 40 rupees, one use. Red ones for 68 rupees, two use. Full recovery regardless of how many heart containers you have. Can be very useful. But this whole setup, red potions in this game are obviously the better since they can be used twice as opposed to just once for the blue. But this whole setup just overall as a whole, Zelda history, yeah, like for example, A Link to the Past. I mean, Zelda 2 didn't have, well, had the Water of Life that was more of a fetch quest item. But other than that, Zelda 2 didn't have potions. A Link to the Past did, but there, the red potions only recovered health. The blue potions were health and magic. So in that game, the blue potions were the better one. Minish Cap. You started off having just the blue potions that were like 10 recovery heart or 10 hearts recovered, which for the first parts of the game was full health. You didn't even have 10 heart containers. But later in the game, when you started to get more, if you did, they slowly lose. The blue potion slowly became a little more less valuable in favor of red potion that you can get by fusing kinstones with someone later on in the game. So again, we're back to red potions being the better of the two. A little consistency from one game to the next. Are red potions going to be the better or blue potions? Just a little nitpick I've always had with Zelda games since starting with the Link to the Past and how in that game the blue potions were the better one. Would it be too much to ask to pick what the purpose of the potion is going to be and stick with it from one game to the next? Yeah. Anyways. Alright, well, as as long as I'm all the way over here. Actually, I'm still quite a ways away from that. Oh, what the heck. As long as I'm over on this side of the world map. There is another heart container, free overworld heart container I can get. Since I do have the raft. Can't get to that one yet. Don't have the item from the next dungeon. Which is why I wasn't even going to come over here yet. I was going to wait until then I could get that heart container I just passed up. And this one up here, on both of them on the same trip out here. But, yes. Speaking of overworld heart containers, did I ever get that one screen below level 1's entrance? Can't remember. Using the candle? Actually, I think I did. Maybe not. Well, I guess I'm gonna go find out. No, actually, I don't think I... Oh yeah, okay, I did. I got 12. I got 10 of them now. Haven't been to level 4 yet, let alone completed it. I don't have... Yeah, okay, so yeah, I must have already got it. I hadn't picked that up yet. I'd only have 9 heart containers. Okay, I did get it. Yeah. Alright. Now, for level 4, by the way, it might be a good idea to have a candle. Luckily, you don't have too far to... Candle sold right there for 60 rupees. And it might be a good idea to have one for level 4, since it starts the oft-repeated for the rest of the game gimmick of dark rooms. I mean, if you've played the game enough times as I have, you tend to memorize the way through those dark rooms and can therefore go through without light, using the candle to light things up. But on the first few playthroughs, that's probably not going to be the case. Not like I have to fight every enemy via your keys combo. But anyways, as I was saying, yeah. Oh goody. Here we go again with the ages-old video game gimmick of water being an impassable barrier. Oh well. Of course. Don't worry about opening that door up there, that's a waste of the key. Oh goody, likes. Well, I still say look like inflatable pool float. They steal your shields. As most Zelda fans know by now, I'm sure. Except for in this game, they only steal your upgraded shields, the one you buy at the shop. If, like me, you don't have one of those, then you have nothing to worry about. For some reason in this game, they don't steal your bargain basement, standard issue shield. Yeah. So much, in fact, that's kind of become a strategy for people who do like swordless challenges or 3 heart runs. Hide inside the like, since you're kind of in a sort of way invincible there. And from inside there, take out the rest of the enemies when they get close. Anyways, once all the enemies are defeated, push this up. The step ladder. Another item that would never make a return in another Zelda game. Like the raft. Actually, the raft did for Zelda 2. Of course, it's kind of weird. You'd think a ladder would be used to reach a high bookshelf or something, on the top of a shelf or something. Some high place that you couldn't reach otherwise. But in this game, the ladder is basically a makeshift bridge. Use it to cross, yeah, kind of a weird purpose for a ladder, but alright. I mean, I love this game, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't be playing it, especially this far into it, if I didn't. But what kind of time restraints were they on when they came up with that idea? A ladder to be used as a bridge to cross rivers. Anyways, earlier there was that door leading up, and I'd said not to use the key there because it'd be a waste of a key. That's why you would have ended up in that central part of the room, and even with the ladder, wouldn't be able to get through. You'd be stuck there. Little dead end, waste of a key. Granted, in the first quest, keys are easy enough to find, but still. Okay, now we have to fight these Vire keys combos. Hit the Vire, the blue enemy, and they split into 2 red keys. Enemies that would be in a few other Zelda games over the years, but not as heavily used as the Stelfos or the Wizrobe, or the Gibdo. Gleeok! And I totally agree with YouTuber Zeltech when he said in one of his videos that Gleeok is an enemy from the original Zelda that should make a return in a new Zelda game. I'd love to see a 3D adaptation of Gleeok here. That would be sweet, especially if they could give him the Lionel treatment, so to speak. Make him as intimidating as a Lionel is in Breath of the Wild. Of course, I made him look easy because of how many times I've played this game over the decades, but he's actually one of the tougher bosses of the entire game. Especially the later equivalent when he has 4 necks, or 4 heads instead of just 2. Alright. Now, this is normally where I'd go get that heart container from the eastern shoreline using the raft. since I now have the ladder and can get the other one that's over there, normally I'd wait until now and get them both in one trip out there, but a little less backtracking that way. That's another potion shop, by the way. Oh yeah, the purpose for the power bracelet in this first quest. Take any road you want. Overworld fast travel. Sort of. If you can remember where each one goes. Ooh, more bombs. Cool. I don't need another recovery heart. I'm already at full health. Sword beams at full health. That, by the way, I mean, they do kind of have it in Breath of the Wild once you get the Master Sword, but up until then, none of the 3D games had sword beams at full health. I always used to wonder why not. I mean, fans would say it's because they couldn't animate that. I don't see that being the case. They had no problems animating arrows in a 3D game. All of the 3D games had the bow and arrow item. So why couldn't they have that? I don't know. Just one of the things I missed in games like Ocarina of Time, as great a game as that is, having sword beams at full health. All of the 4 previous games had it, why not that one too? Anyway, one more thing to do in this video. Now that I have 12 heart containers, counting the 3 I started the game with. Which, by the way, something, since this has now become a full playthrough video series, whereas originally it was just going to be a quick brief review, something I didn't really mention when I picked up the original level 2 sword up there. Didn't really go into any kind of strategy, anything like that. But the sword that's in that cave there, you need 5 heart containers to pick it up. Just finding it isn't enough. If you don't have 5 heart containers, the game won't let you claim it. It'll say something about, it says something about master using it. However it puts that, I don't remember the exact dialogue. Basically put, come back when you have 5 heart containers. The 3 you started the game with, plus 2 more. Be they from the first 2 dungeons, or some of the overworld heart containers. Again, didn't mention that at the time I picked that up, so at that point this was just going to be a small review. Oh goody, more Lionels. Okay, now we have P-hats, not Lionels. Okay, where am I going? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, by the way. Potion shop, and quite the conveniently placed one. Because one screen up from here is the entrance to level 6. Arguably one of the more annoying dungeons in the entire game. So having a potion shop so close to it can be very convenient. Now, master using it, and you can have this. Yeah, that would have been the same dialogue you would have seen when you tried to get the level 2 sword earlier. But without having 5 heart containers, the game wouldn't let you pick it up anyway. And with this one, you need 12. The 3 you start the game with, and 9 more. Levels 1 through 4, and all 5 of the overworld heart containers. The Master Sword. Well, pardon me, we weren't calling it the Master Sword yet. That didn't start until A Link to the Past. In this game, it's just some unknown magical sword. Yeah. But I have a problem with that anyway. I mean, even in once they did start calling it the quote unquote Master Sword, it's basically the Excalibur of legend, of old fables, story, video games, RPGs. It's basically the Excalibur, the sword in the stone that only the chosen hero can pull. Again, I guess they try to be different, like Gibdos, not mummies, Gibdos. It's not the Excalibur, it's the Master Sword. But anyway, based on the same idea. Actually, go back the other way. Nothing over there anyway, that at least not that I know of, not that I can think of right offhand. And again, what is it with Zelda games and their graveyards? Seems like every single Zelda game has at least one graveyard area. Now, I'm not going to need this item for a little while yet, but I'm going to get it now while I'm thinking about it, because knowing me, I'll forget about it, and I won't remember until I get to the very screen that I do need it, and then I'll, why didn't I think of that sooner? So to avoid such possible embarrassments, get this now. I'm going to need it eventually. Not yet, but and this shop is the best to get it at. It's only 60 as opposed to 100 in other shops that sell it. And that's another thing, by the way. Some people were talking. I don't remember who it was. It was years ago, but I remember somebody in one of their review videos talking about how items are priced differently in different stores. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, well, like in real life, different stores price the same item differently. So, yeah. Not exactly the best thing to make a big deal about if you're going to criticize the game. At least not from my point of view. Anyway, next, level 5. But first, there is one more. Well, there's probably others that I'm forgetting about, so I don't. To be honest, I don't know if I've ever even 100%ed this game. I've found all of the rupee secrets. This secret I found out by sheer accident of, well, let's just say I was standing here, went to go take a sip of coffee, and as I was doing so, one of these like that, right there, like you just saw. And I'm like, what the heck? Is this some kind of video game glitch? What's going on here? Do I have to hit reset? Oh, yeah, that's how I found out how I found out about this. And again, I could have got this right at the start of the game before doing anything else. But for the same reason, I wait for that, on that other one I mentioned over there by level 3. Level 5 will also have an item you can buy that costs 100 rupees. So I save that for that purpose. No grinding for rupees needed then. Now, in the second quest, push this rock here down once you have the power bracelet, and it will reveal the entrance to second quest level 4, where I'm now standing. Nothing here in the first quest, but yeah. This is the reason why the power bracelet will be a requirement for the second quest. You can't even get into level 4 without it. Anyways, someone somewhere in the overworld, I think it's again something hidden behind a waterfall. Yeah, pay me and I'll talk. Uh, Screw you then. Yeah, she says up, something about up the mountain ahead. Again, how you'd find this stuff out back in the day when there was no internet and no internet guides. Which again, by the way, I have nothing against internet guides. I find myself using them from time to time. If I'm being perfectly honest, I can't ridicule anyone else for doing so. I have been known to use guides as well. I try to avoid it as much as possible because A, I like to figure things out on my own, and B, 9 times out of 10 when I do use a guide, I see the solution to whatever puzzle it may be that's bothering me, and I'm like, oh, why couldn't I have thought of that on my own? Why couldn't I figure that out? Makes me feel stupid for not. Anyways, level 5. And here we have this screen. To this day, every time I see a blue dark nut, part of me cringes. Not that I don't mind the blue dark nut enemy, but it's because of this screen here. And on my first playthrough, at the risk of embarrassing myself, I think I died more times in this room on my first playthrough than I did anywhere else. Except for maybe some of the last stretches of level 9. Reason why? I hadn't found a lot of the overworld secrets yet. Didn't have all of the heart containers. I think I found a couple of them, so I may have had like 8, 6, well, 7 or 8 of them. I don't even remember, but yeah. So therefore, I didn't have the magic master sword yet. Didn't have the blue tunics. I hadn't found the tunic shop yet. So, without the master sword, magical sword, having to hit each one of these guys 4 times, and without the blue tunic ring, one hit from them doing 2 hearts of damage, and only having like 8 hearts total. Yeah. Long story short, again, I died more times in this room on my first playthrough than I think anywhere else in the entire game. I grew to hate blue dark nuts. Hatred that would last for years to come. Still, to this day, not always, but a good majority of the times I'll see the blue dark nut enemy in some other Zelda game and I remember them from first quest level 5. Yeah. And of course, imagine my annoyance after finally making it through that room after numerous deaths. Get up here and see this. Well, how to put this in a genteel way. Let's just say, for those who are sensitive to vulgar language and profanity, it's probably a good thing you weren't around me that afternoon, or you would have got an earful. Every dirty word you could possibly imagine, plus some of my own homemade brewed curse words thrown in for good measure. What a, I don't. Yeah, you get the idea. I don't know what you get here, but it better be worth it. I just fought a room full of these. Yeah. And I'm screwing up. Shame on me. Yeah. The flute, or the ocarina as it would be called in most of the later games. In this game, if you let the title screen play out where it shows all of the items that to be found in the game, according to it, it's called the recorder, but most people back in the day just referred to it as a flute. It's what it would be called in Zelda 2 and even in A Link to the Past, at least in the SNES original. I think in the Game Boy Advance remake of a Link, or re-port of A Link to the Past to go along with Four Swords, I think they might have renamed it the Ocarina there. But so yeah, we'd always just call it the flute. Whatever you want to call it, you do need that. Even if you do manage to get to the boss of this dungeon without having that, you just walked into a fight you cannot win. Luckily, unlike most boss battles in Zelda games, luckily in that case the door doesn't slam shut and lock behind you, locking you into that room. Because then you'd be locked into a battle you can't win. Anyways, more about put a bomb here. I bet you'd like to have more bombs. Yeah. What? Wait a minute. Did I? What? Hold on. Didn't I get that? Oh, yeah. Oh, shoot. That's right. I remember now. Okay. Yeah, this is why for the longest time I was hesitant to do playthrough videos. Start talking and not paying attention to what I'm doing. Lose. That's right. I did get that 100 rupees. I remember talking about how I found it initially in the first place. But I also bought that enemy bait item too. And I hate how these guys respawn. You're only supposed to do that if you go like 5. Of course, I guess we have that underground tunnel secret passageway took us that far, I guess. Alright. Edit it out just a bit of grinding. Get up to 100 rupees. Kind of outsmarted myself on that one. Save that free 100 rupees so I don't have to grind for them. And end up having to do it anyways. Ho ho ho. Yeah. Anyways, course, as I was doing so, that's I was reminded of another gripe some people have had with this game, and one that I could kind of agree with. Again, from the mindset of people who have only played the more recent games and then go back and play this one from that point of view. The fact that they just reuse the same dungeon theme for all 8 dungeons. Well, all 8 of the normal ones. They have a different theme for the final dungeon, level 9. And yes, that is true. But that same thing could be said for Zelda 2 and A Link to the Past as well. I think Link's Awakening, I'm not sure. But the original, I know for the Switch they slightly changed the music. Or at least, I don't remember too much about the original black and white Game Boy Link's Awakening 1993 edition. If that had different dungeon themes for each dungeon or not. I know Ocarina of Time did, but anyway. I bet you'd like to have more bombs. Yes, and now that I'm done with self-embarrassment, at least this round of it, I actually have the money this time. As I was going to say before realizing I didn't even have enough money to purchase it, bomb bag upgrade. Your maximum bomb capacity now goes from 8 to 12. There is one more in level 7 that'll bring it up from 12 to 16. Which, is kind of weird. Games like Ocarina of Time, as soon as you get that bomb bag, you start off with 20. Yeah. More bombs than you can ever. Yeah. Oh well. Come here, you. Kill all the enemies in the room to open the door. Often reused puzzle of sorts in this game. Could fight these Dodongos, but nah. Not that I really need the map. With all due respect, with how many times I've played this game over the decades, if I still need the dungeon maps, yeah, what the heck. That's like with the NES original Metroid. For a lot of gamers, that was the big improvement the Zero Mission remake had over the NES original, is that the Zero Mission remake actually had an end-game map. Which is good if you're new to the game, yes. Probably use a map, believe me, I know. All those times I spent playing the NES original, making my own hand-drawn maps, wishing there was a way around that, but for me, the point is, I played the NES original Metroid so many times that I still to this day have the map of that game memorized. So, yeah. Same thing for this game. With how many times I've played this, if I still need maps. What? Could kill all these red dark nuts for the dungeon compass. And what the hell, why not? I got the map, I might as well get the compass too. Of course, in this game, the compass doesn't really do much, just shows where the Triforce piece is. Some of the later games, like Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages, or even Link's Awakening before it, the compass would have that ringtone feature. Every time you entered a room where there was a key to be found there, which on a first playthrough can be very convenient. Here, no, it just shows where the Triforce piece, the main objective of the dungeon, is. Now for one of the weirder enemies of Zelda, Pole's voice. Are these things supposed to be rabbits or mice? Or some kind of hybrid combination of the two? Rabbit mice. Of course, they're called Pole's voice. This guy with this always claimed to be, well, let me rephrase that. Most people would say this is a mistranslation or lost in the translation, meaning something different. And that could be, I've never played the Japanese original, can't read Japanese anyway, so even if I had, I wouldn't be able to. So I'm not saying they're wrong, but for me personally, people tend to use that argument so many times it kind of becomes a crutch. I mean, okay, never mind, it's already been said, but yeah. Becomes a cop-out, I guess would be the better word for that. But secret power is said to be in the arrow, he says. A hint that's been taken by many a fan to mean many a different thing. There's a rock formation in the form of an arrow pointing west or left outside that some people think he's talking about because it points in the direction of level 9. Which it may very well be, but I personally think the Pole's voice I was just talking about out here, how one arrow kills them, or even with the Master Magic Sword, it takes 3 sword slashes. And a little bit of Zelda trivia that most longtime fans already know by now is the original Japanese Famicom version of this game. The Famicom had a microphone attachment in its controller. You breathed into it or yelled into it, and the sound it resonated killed the Pole's voice. But when they brought the game over to America, the American counterpart to the Famicom, the NES, didn't have that. So arrows became, the weapon to kill Pole's voice with. Which is what I still say this guy is talking about. Secret power for killing Pole's voice is said to be in the arrow. Anyways, like I said, it's like most of his hints, it's been taken to mean many a different thing by many people who have played the game over the years and decades. And yes, it is kind of vague, which again lends itself to the cryptic nature of the game in a lot of people's minds. Anyways, if you don't have the flute, the whistle, the ocarina, the recorder, whatever you want to call it, you cannot beat this guy, the boss of this dungeon, Dig Dogger. But like I said, at least they have the courtesy not to lock you in here, because if that's the case, you have no way of getting up. Yeah, that could kind of stink. So he shrivels up. Yeah. By the way, that's another thing about this game. I love this game. Easily, yeah. I've already been over that. But while this game is one of the more highly regarded games in early gaming history, no one could rightfully say it's known for its epic boss battles. Yeah. Gleeok aside, not really, no. Most bosses can be killed in a couple hits. Yeah. But the series, every series has to start somewhere, I guess. Anyways, that's all for video 1 of what was just going to be a small review. And since this has now turned into an all-out playthrough, I will be doing the first and second quest. See you for video number 2 next time. Bye. And as always, thanks for watching.